Hello everybody, welcome to a World of Warships Blitz video, and today's video is another video of Tirpitz versus Bismarck. And in today's video we'll be going into a little bit more detail that I didn't cover in my first video because, well, I'm a little bit more educated and I have a better understanding of the nuances between these ships. Yes, these ships have nuances. They are brawlers, but they are nuanced brawlers after all. So, let's start out with the Tirpitz, which you can see in this gameplay. So, really the difference between the two ships, let's get something on the table. The difference between the two ships isn't related to their speed or agility or armor or anything like that. It is all related to their armament. In particular, with the Tirpitz, the secondaries are really... The secondaries can be enhanced in ways that they can't in the Bismarck. In particular, the secondaries, the Bismarck has an opportunity to get the main battery modification, or what a secondary battery modification 1, which provides or modification 2, whichever one it is, that provides plus 10% range and minus 10% dispersion. But what the Tirpitz gets on top of that is the historical camo, should you choose to equip it, which I have. Provides additional range for the secondaries, meaning that for the Tirpitz, you can push those secondaries out to an 8-kilometre firing range. Now, with the Bismarck, it does have the elite skill that reduces the reload for the secondaries, and the Tirpitz's elite skills are pretty much all armour related, so sort of a bit of a waste from an armament perspective, which is a shame. But yeah, so they have an 8-second reload, but out to 8 kilometres. Now, for ships trying to stay out of secondary range, and a lot of ships do try and stay out of secondary range, it comes a little bit trickier if you've got, an extra 1 kilometre or 1.1 kilometre over their stock range for people to have to try and adjust to. So this it looks like a Sims. It's trying to get out of dodge. He's going around. He's trying to get a range of my secondaries. At 4 kilometres, he has no hope. But these secondaries, because they have that improved dispersion and because they have the right commander on board, well, that's the end of him. So even this North Carolina here is well within the range of the secondaries, although to be fair, he would have been within range of secondaries of the Bismarck, but he's easily within the range of the secondaries of this Tirpitz. And there have been maps, and this probably isn't the best game for showing it, where you can be at quite extreme distance and be plinking away happily at destroyers, which is an indication for them of don't approach. So if they're getting hammered at 8 kilometres by secondaries, and reasonably accurate secondary fire, then they generally tend to they tend to know what's good for them. So let's get the mains onto this thing, and then, well, the secondaries weren't required. Get some torpedoes out for this Akatsuki. So here I'm doing, what's not recommended, but also is within the product description of the ship. So it's not recommended that you go out on your own in a battleship, but it is recommended that you take the Tirpitz out and brawl like your life depends upon it. So far we've managed to sink 2 ships. One of them, of course, grievously wounded, but hey, that doesn't matter. We are knocking down the enemy. So that's the 3rd ship. Unfortunately, these torpedoes are likely to be pretty fatal. We are getting hammered, and that's it, all over. However, that's a good indication of just what the Tirpitz does best: brawling, getting in the middle of it and sinking as much, taking the enemy team down as much as possible, and that really did help our team. Admittedly, it's quite useful to have a Tirpitz, but it's not useful to have a Tirpitz if it's a sniping game, so there was an opportunity to get in amongst it, and that's what I did, which means that having exited the game not yet halfway in, we still are the 2nd highest scoring player. And you can see those secondary batteries, well, they did a lot of the hits. So that's the Tirpitz. Secondaries are its forte, good range on the secondaries, which can be quite entertaining. The Bismarck, its specialty and its nuance is a little bit different, and the nuance with the Bismarck is its main guns. So whereas with the Tirpitz all the specialties can go into those secondaries, like the range, and more range, with the Bismarck, you've got an opportunity to work on the dispersion, which makes the ship slightly less useless. at long range. Now, this doesn't make the Bismarck a long-range sniper. Sort of, it just brings it back into the fold, which is a bit of a shame, really, because if you have to spend all your equipment slots and historical camos just to get the ship back to scratch, then it's probably not scratch to start with. And I think the Tirpitz, certainly, and the Bismarck to a lesser extent, has been power creeped by other more accurate battleships coming into the game, and probably deserve a bit of attention. They are popular ships because of their names, so maybe that's a point against them, because some people, I think, just because of the name of the ship and its historical significance, will put the effort in learning how to use it. And there are certainly some good Bismarck players out there, although I haven't seen high-scoring Tirpitz players out there for a while, so go figure. Anyway, sorry, that was a bit of a distraction. So the big difference with the main guns with the Tirpitz is you can work on the dispersion in two ways. You've got the equipment slot, the first equipment slot, which has main battery modification 3 in this case, which is a 7% improvement to dispersion. And if you add the historical camo on top of that, which is a 4% improvement in dispersion, then, yeah, your dispersion is no longer shocking. It's merely just ordinary, which, okay, I'll take. So there's a tough ship in behind that. I mean, it's only 15-inch guns rather than 16-inch guns, only 8 of them. It does still have those incredible secondary guns, and it does have that turtleback armour and that toughness. It does, of course, burn like a rag soaked in gasoline, but that's German ships for you. But yeah, so the Tirpitz, here we are. We're playing more of a battleship role, where, well, yeah, we're engaging at battleship-type ranges rather than driving into suicide range, which tends to be the lot with the Tirpitz. So those Tirpitz games are normally short, sharp, and if they're successful, very violent. The Bismarck has the opportunity to be a little bit more nuanced. Here's a Fletcher. We're trying to keep ourselves angled to him. He's firing his torpedoes out the other way. So that means that we've got the opportunity to start peppering him with a few shells. He's going to try and get out of dodge. He is. And what's his range? 5 kilometers, and he's going to shoot just out of range. And the Iowa gets his vengeance. Nice to see. Nice to see. So I know that one of my viewers has mentioned that I get a little fixated on destroyers. Well, yeah. That's because they have torpedoes, and in this game, torpedoes are fairly powerful because they reload much quicker than in real life. Oops, we lost our Seattle to a Fletcher. That's a bit of a shame. We would have thought the Fletcher would have been taking down Bismarcks rather than Seattle's, but go figure, I suppose. Yep, and here we have an enemy Bismarck. I'm turning my guns. Hopefully my guns are turned fully by the time there's my secondaries. They're ready. So I'm using my secondaries, there go my mains, and I'm going to try and land some mains through that gap. There we go. And we get some decent hits on him. He gets some decent hits on me, but his hits don't do the same sort of damage. So here I am with the secondaries, land the secondaries, get the mains out, try and get them through that point of the deck into his citadel, which I don't do because, well, it's Bismarck. So far it's a rather uneven exchange, and as you can see, the auto secondaries are going to town on each other. I'm getting out with my secondaries. So the secondaries on the Bismarck do have a faster reload than the Tirpitz. So though they have less range, they reload every 7.38 seconds. It's incredible trying to remember that, isn't it? Because of the elite skill. So if you don't take the elite skill, the damage reduction elite skill, or the torpedo reduction elite skill, which, to be fair, I no longer take the torpedo reduction skills because, well, learning how to steer is a good cheap alternative to that. Then those secondaries do have a reasonably good reload. They are 6-inch secondaries, so they are like, it's sort of like, well, it's basically the equivalent, I suppose, of Huang Hui, really, on each side of the ship. It has 6-inch secondaries firing armoured piercing. So here we are. A bit of judicious making sure that we don't rush in, and we can engage in range. And as you can see, the Tirpitz is, well, sorry, the Bismarck, this is the Bismarck, is a little bit more capable. So that last brawl, I think, had it been the Tirpitz, I think it would have been a bit more of a struggle because a lot of my shells were very accurate, which meant that I could knock that Bismarck down a lot faster. Whereas with the Tirpitz, I would have had a lot more, probably even at those sort of close ranges, hitting the ocean, and I would have had to try and close into torpedo range. And the torpedoes in the Tirpitz, I've got to say, I'm not impressed. There goes, you see, as I said, it makes its dispersion from terrible to just okay, and that was pretty much just okay. So these last two battleships bottled up. So really, yeah, with the Bismarck, it is a bit more flexible. It is a fairly frequently targeted ship. Just be aware of that. So it does draw a lot of attention. The Tirpitz draws a bit more attention because, well, basically, people want to try and eliminate things with torpedoes before they get within torpedo range. It's just a sort of a natural instinct that players have. And yeah, well, the Tirpitz is big and easy to find, and it has torpedoes. Am I going to land some shots there? I'm not really judging his speed particularly well. There's only 44 seconds. This guy's going to survive. We're just going for points. So we can bring ourselves up the rankings. Look at those shells coming in from above. That's an American cruiser if ever there was one. And we'll see if we can land some more shells on him. We're using our precise aiming. And even despite our precise aiming, we managed to drop enough shells in the general vicinity of the North Carolina to hit with one or two.
Our team is about to win.
And, well, I was wrong. He is going to go down before the end of the game. So there you go. There's the Bismarck and the differences between the Bismarck and the Tirpitz. So the Tirpitz is definitely a long secondary, so it's that at 8 kilometres it really starts to come into its own. The Bismarck can stretch beyond that, but obviously its secondaries don't follow out to that sort of range. Anyway, as you can see, a high game with a lot of secondary hits. That is the Bismarck. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.